Hello and welcome to the Fleapit podcast. Another episode this week. We're going to be talking movies and just about anything else we can think of. We're in the studio today with me, myself, Sam Ely, and my co-host, as always, Luke Chilton. Hello, Luke. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, Sam Ely. It's so good to be here on Friday morning. The birds are chirping, and I don't mean those things in the sky.
Why did you say Friday morning when it's Tuesday afternoon?
I got the day wrong, didn't I?
Yeah, but also we literally have never not recorded this on a Tuesday afternoon.
I never know what day it is. My job doesn't permit me to know what day it is.
It's really quite vital you know what the day is for your job.
It just matters that I know that
date.
The date, yeah.
Yeah.
I know it all by numbers, not by words.
Welcome back from Kyrgyzstan.
Thanks, brother.
Did you have a nice time?
I had a delightful time. I highly recommend the country of Kyrgyzstan.
Yeah.
I know we're not a travel podcast, but fuck me, cool country.
Yeah.
Cheap. There's chips.
I don't know anyone that has been there.
Me neither. I didn't know anything about the country till a week before I went.
So it basically looks cool. You go around on a horse.
You ride a horse.
Everything looks nice.
It's like living in Lord of the Rings, but with no orcs.
Yeah.
Or ring nonsense. Just the scenery.
No fantasy.
Just the scenery.
Power struggles.
Yeah. And loads of dogs and horses and goats. And they're just running everywhere. And it looks like it looks like heaven. It's great. It's just like big fields of wild flowers.
Yeah.
And it's super green. I thought it'd be like desert.
Right.
It's quite funny. If you look at all the stands, they're all desert apart from Kyrgyzstan, which is just mostly green.
Oh,
So they clearly get all
nice.
the rain.
They've been stealing the rain. Why do they get the rain?
I don't know. They just do.
Maybe they just put a border around the nice bit and they're like, we're having this.
Yeah.
You be your own. So did you have the thing? So for me, whenever I'm like, I love London. I would never live anywhere apart from London. But every time I go anywhere other than London, I'm like, God, this is amazing. And where I live is horrible.
It's when you come back to London and you're like, oh, it actually smells.
Yeah.
It actually stinks like smog. And bad air. Oh, because I was high up in the mountains, so you got like fresh as fuck air. Although it's altitude-y, so it is actually hard to breathe.
Right.
For the first few days. And then I would say I came back. I did a workout when I came back. I was flying. I was impossible to make tired.
Really?
Yeah. Because
of all your horse riding,
super blood,
big glutes.
Yeah, I was just full of just pumped full of hemoglobin.
Oh, yeah. The altitude.
Hemoglobin had super altitude blood.
My friend Chris got altitude poisoning in Bogota.
Oh, really?
Colombia.
Chris Hoy.
It was Chris Hoy, and he had to have an injection in his bum.
Oh no!
And I was there.
Why does that help?
And I saw the whole thing. Why does it help? What, the bum part or the injection part?
What are they putting in there? What are they putting in them?
I guess air. Is that how it works? Oxygen. Just inject some oxygen in. I think that's actually what you're not. I think that you die if you do that.
If you just put don't they say?
Isn't that
what tampon death is?
That's why they go. You know, when the evil doctor's like, and squeezes the
yes, you're right, the
syringe, so it like sprays in the air. You're like, why are you doing that, doc?
Yes,
it's because
don't want an air bubble in your blood, and then it goes to your head and you have like a stroke, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that also what ladies have to be careful with with their tampons?
Tampon toxic shock syndrome.
Yeah. See, we know about lady stuff.
We know about ladies. Basically, if you put a tampon in and there's blood, it's good. It eats all the blood. But if there's no blood, it eats you and you die.
Yeah, don't get it wrong.
And that's toxic shock syndrome.
It's toxic shock syndrome.
And I've learnt that in case I have a daughter that I don't know about.
It's good to be prepared.
It's mad though. I feel like if I was like, the fact that a tampon can kill you. I think I'd be freaking out about that all the time. If someone was like, if you wipe your bum wrong, you die.
Well, this is what I worry about, like sepsis and necrotizing fasciitis. You ever heard about that?
Sort of basically no.
Okay, flesh-eating bacteria.
Oh, yeah.
Super fast acting. It will like kill you in like 24 hours.
Yeah.
And the only solution is to cut you cut you to bits before it spreads. And a lot of the time they don't cut far enough, so then they have to cut again, then they have to cut again. because they're trying to cut off the least amount,
Yeah.
but also enough. So, a nightmare. And you just melt. It's like you just melt. And that's just could happen to anyone.
It can just happen to anyone.
It
You
just
can
happens
just
to
start
anyone.
melting.
They're just like,
Don't you have
they
to
don't
like
really know.
touch a dirty bug or something, and then that's how you
No,
get
no.
it?
So I think I'm no scientist, but I think you've actually got
You're
it
not a
just
scientist?
in your body around you, and
Just-
it's
it's
like
their
it can
general-
suddenly turn on you,
Okay.
and it's just they don't
Wow.
really know why.
Like autoimmune, when your
Yeah.
body attacks itself.
yeah, one of them things.
I heard a story, maybe from like my granddad or something, of someone who was in Japan, and in a long time ago, let's say the 30s,
The war.
the war, before the war, after the war, something like that. And he like got a thorn in his foot, and it got all infected, and went to the doctor, and the doctor was like, "Yeah, we're gonna have to cut your foot off." But the doctor was like Japanese and had like all sort of ancient medicines on his wall. And this guy was like, I don't want to cut my foot off. I'm gonna wait till I get back to England. So he went back to England, and they were like, "Yeah, you've got gangrene, and we're now gonna have to remove your whole leg." Because he didn't trust the Japanese doctor. So that's what happens if you're racist, Luke. You lose your leg.
Well, what a good story.
Thank you.
Justice was surely served in that one.
Yeah. But I don't like how you said, "What a good story." I usually like when I tell a great story, as I frequently do. Mm-hmm. There's just a sort of feeling that everyone's enjoyed the story. But there you said, "What a good story," and I was like, when you put it in such blunt terms, I feel like you don't mean it.
That's interesting. I have this problem a lot with people. I feel like I try to be really direct about what I'm feeling. So I state it.
Which
Perhaps
people don't do.
Maybe it's
unless they're sarcastic.
Yeah, that's true. But I
What
genuinely
a funny thing to say.
But I mean
it's something
that-
people only say when you've not been funny.
But I 100% meant that from the bottom of my heart. Maybe it's like my acting's not good.
So you were acting, so you didn't mean it.
No. I wasn't acting. So if I was acting, maybe you'd be more convinced of my the passion. What a
But I wouldn't
good
be-
story. That sounds more
you've
sarcastic.
just completely contradicted yourself. If you're a bad actor, then if you were acting, it would be less convincing.
But if it's really what I feel, I'm not acting.
So why are you bringing up acting?
What?
We have actually quite a lot to get through in today's podcast.
Yeah, you're right. We should shut up.
We're going to start with a little bit of news. I mean, it's not news, but the New York Times have asked a bunch of people, 500 people in Hollywood, actors and directors and stuff like that, what the best films of the 21st century are. And they've come up with a list of the 100 best films in the 21st century.
That's 2000 to 2100.
Yeah, but not including the films that haven't come out yet in the future.
Well, why are they doing it now?
Because it's we're a quarter of the way through the century, instead of having a little looky
All right,
to see
fine.
what the films are. So I got a list of films, and what you got to do, Luke, is guess after I name a film what's the whether it's on the list or not.
Easy.
Easy. But you can get a bonus point if you identify. I've included in the list the number 1 film. And the number 100 film.
Ah, okay.
So if
yes,
you can identify
yes.
those when they come up.
Ah, okay. There's 15.
There's
Let's go. Hit me, baby.
15. You can play along at home. I think it might be in the other one. Okay.
Come on, hit me with your movies.
All right. Beautiful. Let's get going with
Oh.
The Social Network.
Oh, it's on there.
You think it's on there?
Yeah, I think it's on
What's
there.
your opinion of The Social Network?
I haven't seen it.
Have you heard that you've not seen The Social Network?
Yeah, but everyone goes, "Oh my god, I'm not in the Social Network," so it must be really good. So it's on the list.
Yeah, it is on the list, and it is really good.
Suck my dick.
It's number 10 on the list, the 10th best film.
Jesus,
of the 21st
that's
century.
really high.
It's really good. It is a sequel to The Social Network is apparently being made as well.
Yes, hilarious. Why?
With Aaron Sorkin writing it, and apparently it's not about Mark Zuckerberg specifically, but it's about like how Facebook has destroyed the world, that kind of thing. More sort of big scale.
So Facebook is the main character.
Yeah, the icon. It's like the Emoji Movie,
Yeah.
but it's like a little
a bold
Facebook icon walking around and
I'm
like
down
shooting
for
people.
that.
Yeah. Well, maybe watch the original first.
So
or it
like
might
a
make
very
sense.
dark Pixar movie.
Yeah. Royal Tenenbaums.
Nah, it's not on there. I don't know what that is.
You don't know what the Royal... Oh, my God. Look, I kind of wanted to hide the fact that I started a movie podcast with someone who's hardly seen any films.
I've seen some movies.
I sort of wanted to pretend that we had a sort of air of authority. You don't know what the Royal Tenenbaums is? I brought it up like 5 times in a very recent podcast.
I don't care.
Royal Tenenbaums is... so you think it's not on the list?
No, I think it's on the list.
You think it's on the list?
Yeah, I changed my mind.
You're wrong. It's not on the list.
I should have gone with my instincts.
Royal Tenenbaums is Wes Anderson's like 3rd movie, I think. It's really good.
Yeah, but that won't be the one that will be on the list. Is the hotel one?
I think Grand Budapest probably
Hotel.
is on the list.
Yeah.
But you can't just fill it with fucking Wes Anderson. Also, you wouldn't want to, would you? Super Bad.
I don't think that's on the list.
You think it's not on the list?
I think it's not on the list.
Well, buddy,
Oh,
you're wrong.
Oh,
And
shit.
Not only are you wrong,
There's 100.
You missed your bonus
There's
point because
100.
Superbad just sneaks onto the list at number 100.
fuck. Okay. Well, there's no shame in not getting that.
And I think it's a fair pick. I think Superbad holds up, and yeah, you can moan that it's sort of a bit the sexual politics are not okay, but you know what? It's
What's wrong with the politics? But they're teenagers, aren't they?
the
Gross,
whole
fucking
plot
nasty
of the film
teenagers.
is about trying to get women drunk enough that they'll sleep with them.
Yeah, they're gross teenagers. That's what teenagers do.
Yeah,
It's disgusting.
I mean, yeah, it's like I don't know.
I would have thought. You know why I thought Superbad? I would have thought American Pie would have been. Oh no, that's not modern, is it?
American Pie.
Well,
American Pie, I think,
old.
is maybe early noughties, late 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah. But speaking of
Ashamed of myself.
American, American Beauty.
Oh, but this is tricky because I don't know if they'll say no just because Kevin Spacey's in it. If that's not a factor, then 100%. Wait, no, that movie's old as fuck. That's not even in the 2000s. No.
Trick question. American Beauty is from 1999.
Yes, I got you. You little
Oh, well
shit.
done. Well done.
I've seen some stuff.
lad.
Yes.
Bridesmaids.
Nah.
It is on the list. It's number 32.
Whoa, that's high.
Number 32
That
is
is
high.
high.
I think Superbad is funnier than Bridesmaids, personally.
It's because you're
But
a gross,
that's because I'm a
misogynistic
horrible
pig.
chauvinist.
Yes. I'm surprised that
I think
I
I've
would have
heard
thought
Bridesmaids-
Hollywood doesn't have respect for those kind of movies. But
But
I guess
no,
it does.
I think it probably. But then it's because they're not asking critics, right? If they were asking critics, it would all be like art house stuff. But if you speak to like actors and directors, I quite like watching the. You've seen those like letterboxed TikToks where they ask people what their top 4 movies are. And they'll ask like Martin Scorsese, and he'll be like, "Oh, La Belle Vita" or whatever that is. The fucking. You know, 8.5.
I saw one with
Fellini and
Quentin
things like that.
Tarantino. He's got some pretty like rogue ones.
But then you ask like Idris Elba or fucking I don't know, a lot of actors and people like that, and they're just like Star Wars.
Oh, they're just like us.
Yeah, no,
They're just like
they're
us.
like us, but stupider.
Whoa, I quite like Star Wars. The
Not
first
not
ones.
not stupider, but like a lot. Sorry, I'm drinking Pepsi Max, which is making me burpy. They a lot of actors have quite basic taste. A lot of I don't know, Goodfellas and stuff coming up a lot, which fair enough.
Goodfellas, a good movie.
It's fine.
Okay.
Okay, let's speed through the rest. Synecdoche, New York.
What? Say that again.
Synecdoche, New York.
Not on the list. Don't know what that is.
You don't know what Synecdoche, New York is. Oh my god! No, it's not on the list.
Yeah. Well, I'm right.
I can't believe you haven't seen Synecdoche, New York.
And yet I still know the answer.
Okay, you need to go through this list and see how many of the actual 100 and see how many you've seen. I've seen 80 all the way through, and there's more of them that I've seen some of. But yeah, 80 of them I've fully seen. I want your count for next week, please.
It'll be 13.
13.
I'll
that
have
you
seen
have
number
seen.
13.
Okay, really quickly. Parasite.
Yes, 100%. Wait, no, that's not part of Hollywood. Does that count?
This is 100 best movies of the 21st
Yeah, Parasite
century.
will be in there for sure.
Correct, but you missed it.
Number
It was
one.
number one.
Fuck off, it was number one.
Number one.
Wow.
Number 2, Mulholland Drive. Number 3, There Will Be Blood.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Mulholland Drive.
Mulholland Drive, have you seen
Guiltily,
that?
one of the ones I have not seen.
I have. Love it. It's second best movie ever made.
Barbie.
Yes, I think it'll be on there.
No.
Fuck.
But Oppenheimer is. You're not doing very well. American Psycho.
Yes.
No, not on the list.
That's a great movie.
Ex Machina.
No. Hollywood Idiots. Yes, it's on there.
No, it's not on the list. Borat.
Yes.
Yes, it is. Number 53.
Really? That should be higher.
That's definitely funnier than both Bridesmaids.
That's the funniest movie
and
ever made.
Superbad. Probably is. Up is number 50. Hereditary.
Yes. That's the best horror movie made. Yeah.
No, not on the list.
Fuck off. These guys are shit.
Get Out.
Yes.
Yes, number 8.
Yes.
Which
okay.
I think is
Fine.
is fair. I think
Yeah,
Get Out
it's a
is
good
like
movie.
a all-time great.
Yeah, good.
Mary and Max.
No.
Correct.
That's your favorite movie.
That's just a movie I like.
Yeah, no way.
But I still think it should be on the list. It's on the. I think it might be on the IMDb
claymation
top 100.
movie is not going to make it.
I think it's heartwarming. So that's the list. It's actually a pretty good list. There's like, it's quite obviously you can find omissions and there's stuff that probably should be on.
There's
there.
RoboCop on there.
RoboCop's from the 80s.
Oh yeah. What about the new RoboCop?
The new Robot. Is there a new one?
It's really bad.
Yeah. That's not on there. I'm sorry to say.
Well,
but it's like a nice list. There's like, there's some foreigny stuff. They got like Y Tu Mama Tambien, and they got like an Almodovar film, I think. And
I like Almodovar.
yeah,
I've seen his movies. Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down. That's a problematic movie.
Is it?
It's he ties up a woman until she falls in love with him.
Right.
Stockholm Syndrome or romantic comedy. He blurs the lines, does Pedro Almodovar.
Especially problematic.
It's muy sexy.
Because he's gay.
Ah oui? Si? Pedro Almodovar's gay?
Isn't he? I thought that's his whole thing, is he's like the gay
His
guy.
whole thing is he's gay? I thought his whole thing was he makes awesome, raunchy, erotic drama.
I thought he made sort of sexy gay. I've only seen like a couple of Almodovar films.
You're thinking of the other guy who makes with Timothy Chalamet and the Peach.
No, I'm not thinking.
Yeah,
of
you
that.
are the queer or who made Queer.
I'm not thinking. I know who you're. I know you're Luca Guadagnino.
That's the one. You're thinking
who's
of him.
Italian.
Yeah, you're thinking of him.
Surely Pedro is gay.
I think
Desire LGBTQ issues.
Yeah,
This is like coming up quickly.
What about Naked Flesh?
Partner Fernando. Does he sound like a lady to you? Pedro Almodovar's like he's gay. Let's just check. Almodovar's openly gay. That's the first line of his personal
What about
life section.
yeah, okay. All right, fine.
He describes himself as having been actively bisexual until the age of 34.
Really? That's a long time to be
He's
actively
been with his
bisexual.
partner since 2002.
But wait, how
Fernando.
old is he?
He's like 100. By which I mean 75.
75. So literally almost half his life he was bisexual.
Yeah, but you probably
Few years off.
you probably say that to make things easier, don't you?
Well, I'm just in the market. You say what you're in the market for, I think.
Yeah.
If you shag loads of guys and then you're like, never doing that again, you don't want to be saying you're gay or bisexual. It's misleading. Not talking about anyone specific here.
I mean, I again, not talking about anyone specific, but I think most people would think that a man who has shagged loads of guys would probably, at the very least, be considered bisexual.
You're wrong there. You're wrong there.
Well, write in and see if anyone
I
has
know
any
guys.
hypothetical opinions
There's
about this
gay
hypothetical
guys.
person.
What about gay guys in the closet? You say guys in the closet. You say they're gay, and they might not have had sex with any men ever, and in fact had sex with lots of women, but they're gay. They're just in the closet.
Yeah, but they're having sex with women because they're in denial about the fact that they're gay.
Yeah.
You having sex
And
with
I'm
men
well.
because
We're
you're
not
in
saying
denial
me. We're talking about an unspecified individual.
We were before, but I now thought I realised that this unspecified individual had a lot in common with you, so I thought I'd start talking about you.
This is slanderous. This is slanderous. My having sex with men is purely to be in denial of how straight I am.
You only do it to be an excellent ally.
I am a great ally.
You are a great ally.
I will do it just because I'm friendly. Anyway, let's talk about the movies we've seen.
Let's talk about the movies. We're doing a double header this week. F1 and 28 weeks. 28 years later. Why that?
It's
Why?
double head. Duh.
What, like...
Two penises. I don't know. We'll cut this bit out.
No, I want everyone to literally seconds after Luke denies having any LGBTness to him,
I don't go that
mimes
far.
sucking off two big cocks. Okay,
so
that's it.
bad
You
at
wouldn't go that
sucking
far.
it.
So would you say you are queer?
No,
No.
because queer to me.
So then you're not LGBT.
No,
what
but
are you gonna be
the
in
only
the
reason I don't say
LGBTQ if you're
queer
not?
is because from
it
a
sounds
person.
gay?
No, from a personal perspective, it still sounds like a slur to me.
Right.
And I know everyone's like, it's reclaimed, it's but then that's
fair.
the same with like the N word.
What would you
Why not?
use? What would you use?
I don't know. I don't care. Whatever you want to call me. I actually don't care. I'm like, whatever someone else calls me is fine.
Okay.
Including if they want to call me queer, that's fine. But I'm not going to be like, I'm queer.
Okay.
'Cause it makes me think of people getting bullied at school.
Yeah. Yeah, it must be annoying if you're in an oppressed group that starts to reclaim a word that you do not like.
What happened with the N word? Do you remember? There was like this brief period in the 90s for like, I don't know, when gangster rap was really high, where people were saying the N word and be like, yeah, man, it's cool. It's like we reclaim it. And then there was a hard U-turn back. And everyone was like, no one be saying this. But that didn't happen with queer. That happened the other way around.
But what do you mean in the night? What you say? Like white people using it?
Yeah.
Because black people still use it.
Yeah, but it's controversial.
You think white people were part of the? Were they reclaiming it in the 90s?
I remember people saying it.
I mean, that's probably right. I just remember in the noughties when everyone was like, "There's no racism anymore."
Yeah.
So we can be racist.
Yeah, it was. I think
there's no sexism, we can be sexist. There's no homophobia.
I think
so
that
we
was
can be homophobic.
what reinvigorated that. Actually, let's make nobody say that.
Yeah. And then the racists, the homophobes, and the sexists came out because they were too excited by these new rules, and then we were going,
Yeah.
we need some rules again.
Talking
Because these losers keep ruining it. Talking of rules, you're
of
trying to
rules,
segue back to films.
You know the rules of F1 or F1? I believe it's pronounced F1.
I don't know the rules of F1, but we're not going to talk about it yet because I need to tell you about Elio quickly.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Non-main review, but I've seen the film Elio, which is the new outing from Pixar. At time of recording, their worst performing film ever.
No,
or at
wait,
least their worst performing film theatrically. Yeah.
But does that mean it's like 97% on something?
Okay,
rather than
you
100?
need to financially.
Oh,
Pixar
financially.
don't care about the reviews. I mean, I'm sure they care a bit.
But Pixar is just like hit after hit after hit with its animated movies.
Well, they were, but until about 10 years ago when
What were
things...
their bad movies?
Cars 2, The Good Dinosaur, Brave, Lightyear.
Oh yeah, I didn't watch any of those.
Luca, Elemental, all these things that have been kind of, compared to the glory days, slight stinkers. Not stinkers, right? They're just not so great anymore. Elio has come out. It's been performing really badly. It just like doesn't have a sort of particularly exciting premise. The only sort of premise clear from the adverts is aliens. And Elio's just a really bad name. It's just like the name of some kid.
Wait, Elio is an alien?
No, Elio's a kid. And yeah, it's not done very well. I think it's a decent movie, but definitely not one of Pixar's best. The premise of the movie is Elio is a little boy whose parents have died before the film has started, and he is very sad and very lonely because his parents have died. And in his sad, lonely desire to connect, he starts learning about aliens and has a desire to be abducted by aliens because he's lonely on Earth and he wants to be taken away to find
Sounds like a
new
great
people
premise.
to connect with. yeah, and then he goes on a sci-fi journey, and a bunch of things unfold, and there's a lot of sort of classic Pixar trappings and a nice emotional finale at the end. I basically agree that it's a really nice premise, and I would say within the first like 3 minutes of the movie, I was like feeling quite moved. I just found it very sad and very sweet, the idea of this little kid so lonely that they're just like hoping to be abducted by aliens to as if like, you know, maybe alien life will provide something that humanity hasn't been able to provide for him.
Yeah,
just to like
that's a beautiful Pixar concept.
Immediately kind of moving.
Yeah.
Now, I think the way Pixar movies work is they basically have a kind of human emotional storyline, and then on top of that they have a sort of wacky family adventure, and often it is about balancing the two of those. And I feel like this movie has the very beginning is very sweet and the very end is very sweet, but the whole middle of the movie for me was just sort of wacky adventure with like none of the emotional stuff that I really like love in Pixar. So if I think about one of my favorite movies,
big wacky action movie cartoon.
Sorry?
It felt like a big wacky cartoon.
Yeah, and you know, that's fine if that's what you're looking for. But if I think about something like Up or Coco, for example, which are constantly throughout the movie dealing with ideas of death and grief and loneliness and things like that.
Toy Story's got jealousy,
and then Inside Out, you're constant like the whole movie
whole thing is emotionally
you're
based,
going through like what it means to be a person, what it means to grow up, like
accepting
how to deal with your
difference.
emotions.
Yeah.
And obviously, even with all those movies, there's you know, silly, wacky adventures they go on that probably to an adult crowd are maybe less interesting than some of that more nuanced emotional stuff. But for me, this movie was too heavy on. This wasn't enough of the things that I really love about Pixar, and for most of the movie, I felt like I was watching just a kid's movie, basically about a kid finding some aliens and having to beat a big bad guy, and I just was like, I just don't really care about any of this.
Wow, that's
so
sad.
it was. I think it had a lot of potential. It definitely doesn't deserve to be their worst performing movie. I still think Pixar have a lot to give. I think kids would probably like the movie.
Have you ever watched their shorts?
Nice stuff.
The Pixar shorts.
Yeah, no short at the start of this one.
I know,
Often
that's
there's
sad.
shorts at the start.
But have you seen? They've got a bunch of shorts on. I think it's the Disney Channel.
Yeah, well, they almost all come from the shorts that played before.
Yeah, there's some
the movies in
unique
the
ones
cinema.
though.
Are there?
They're great.
Yeah.
Many of them made me cry.
Yeah, there's some good ones.
Yeah.
There's one I think I quite liked about two volcanoes. I think maybe people hated that one, but I think I quite liked it because it was sad.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
saw something very interesting about Pixar. It was like a documentary on how they made Toy Story, and like the way that they were trying to innovate it was originally they wanted to make Woody a dislikable character, and they were trying to make him effectively the antagonist. And then they realized that just doesn't work. They decided to make him likable but flawed.
Yeah.
But they tried really hard to do that.
Yeah, I guess he's a bit sort of annoying, maybe.
Oh, he's jealous, isn't he? In the first one, it's all about him.
He's jealous
because
because
Buzz
Lightyear is more popular. Yeah.
And he's actually kind of a dick in it, but you do like him. He's a good guy.
I think there's
flawed.
also a simplicity to a lot of the best Pixar stuff. Maybe Coco is a counterexample to this, which is one of my favorite of all time, and that's very like mad and over the top and complicated. But
So the Mexican Day of the Dead
Mexican
one.
Day of the Dead one.
It's fun.
But if you think about like A Bug's Life and Toy Story, it's like they're quite simple in some ways.
Well, A Bug's Life is just what's it called? The Seven Samurai.
Oh, is it based on that?
Yeah, it's the same plot.
I've not seen Seven.
They like train the. That's a classic movie. Not from 2000s.
So not relevant. But yeah, the sort of sci-fi world you get into in Elio is a bit more like the sort of mad sci-fi world you see in almost something like Rick and Morty or something like that.
Yeah,
and it's just a bit too. I don't know. Pixar's at its best when it is grounded, and this, by the very nature of it being in space, is not very grounded. But
they've achieved that before. Up is like not grounded. It's wacky as shit. But it's oh boy, does that hit you in the feels. That first like 10 minutes is brutal.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
painful.
I think basically what we maybe forget is that Up is like a decent movie with like an incredible opening.
Yeah.
And it's just the opening is so good, and then it sort of brings the emotion from the opening back at the end. That the wacky adventure.
But it's also
going on.
It's also interesting to put an old dude as the main character in a kids movie.
Yeah,
That's pretty impressive.
but I think in Up you've got this old dude and this little fat kid who's,
Yeah.
and they're both just sort of waddling around and they can't really do anything and they're a bit slow and they're a bit useless.
Yeah.
Elio is this boy on this mad alien adventure, like going 100 miles an hour, big bad guys, and there's something, even though Up is very whimsical, I think there's something a bit, it's not quite sort of over the top crazy.
You think that
I don't know.
The alien one
I don't
becomes
know
a
what
bit
I'm talking
Marvel,
about.
Marvel movie-esque, maybe? There's a villain who needs to be...
Yeah. I think, yeah.
Yes.
And maybe, and if you're a big sci-fi fan, you might like it. But I'm not really. Anyway, that's Elio. It was fine. And Pixar apparently doing a hand-drawn animation, their first ever one, coming up. So that will be very exciting.
Hand-drawn does look good. I am a fan of hand-drawn animation. Pretty cool.
Yeah,
if it's done well, it
we've
can
got
look really
a poster of next to us, just out of shot, of the Triplets of Belleville, which is one of the nicest hand-drawn films ever made. And Luke was just commenting before this started how pretty it looks.
It's so good.
So you should watch that. Can I make a list of films Luke needs to watch? So what we got today: Triplets of Belleville, Social Network. What's the other one you hadn't seen?
I don't know, something pretty important. The Wes Anderson.
Synecdoche, New York.
And that one.
Fucking hell. And Royal Tenenbaums.
That's the one.
Christ. But see, for me, I'm like, if there's a movie, I don't know what my point is. That's Elio. F1 28 years later. What do we want to talk about first?
So F1, please.
F1, please. And basically, I would say your enjoyment of the movie will very strongly correlate to how much you just enjoyed that auditory experience, brought to you by the Fleapit podcast. F1 is a new movie by Joseph Kosinski, who made Top Gun Maverick. It is a big advert for cars made by Apple TV. They spent apparently $300 million on it, which is absolutely fucked and mad.
Really?
Yeah, it's like one of the most expensive films ever, and it's not even part of a franchise. So it was a huge
I mean, I can
swing.
believe that. I guess getting one F1 car is going to be pretty chunky. And then crashing it.
Oh, and there's it's all real F1 driving, and Brad Pitt
and
the
people.
Star and
fucking
people
Lewis
in it.
Hamilton pops up.
Yeah.
He was the only guy I knew.
He's an exec producer. A few times people pop up and I'm like, oh, I guess you're someone.
Yeah.
Because someone's like, hello, it's so nice to see you. And I'm like, well, you're not an actor.
It's all the bits where they go, I like the bits where like, damn, it's Max blah blah blah, and he's like, damn, he's good. And he's just not in the movie anymore. Just Brad Pitt, like, yeah, he's great.
The plot of F1 the movie is basically what you would come up with if you had to sort of invent one in 2 minutes.
Well, also, it's the plot. If you had just made Top Gun Maverick,
Yeah.
and then you wanted to put it in Formula One theory, it's exactly that movie.
Yeah.
Again.
So Brad Pitt was a top F1 driver who had to stop his career after a terrible crash, and now he's been out of the game for decades. But now a struggling team needs someone to get them back on the thing, so he's going to come back for one last
veteran
thing of a few races. But there's a young guy, and he's going to be.
He's
is he going to
hot-headed.
get some hot-headed? And are they going to get in trouble? And maybe there's a sexy lady.
Will they
what's
work
Javier
things out?
Bardem gonna
Probably,
do?
definitely.
Anyway, that's the plot.
Yeah.
Luke, why don't you start off by telling us a bit about what you think of F1 having before seen the film,
and
then tell us what you thought of the film after
I
that.
can kind of do this in one. I didn't want to watch this movie at all because Formula One kind of merges together like a whole bunch of things that I think I hate.
Yeah.
I will say with prejudice. I don't know anything about F1, but just the stink of it to me is like it feels like it's got all the sort of like class elitism of horse riding, but then smashed to gear with like an extra cunty flavor of like people who love Top Gear. So it's like this ultimate stew of like, I don't know, dickheadery just like smashed together. And everyone goes there and is like, let's go. And then on top of that, it has the gall to be a boring, impenetrable sport to watch.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is just a bunch of cunts with too much money driving around a race course without even thinking about like, will this be good for spectators? Could anyone get involved in this? No, it's for a privileged few.
Right.
And I don't even think you gamble on it, so let's make that even more boring.
Surely, can you not allowed to gamble on it?
I don't know. Maybe you are, but I don't know. You don't. It's not like the dogs. The dogs has real energy to it.
It's not like the dogs.
Show me all your fucking dogs. But also, like
That's Luke's real sort of South London energy coming up.
That's how I talk when no one's looking. But also like the horse riding and stuff, racing is like there's an animal. That's like you have to tame you have to have a relationship. This is a car. It doesn't have the same thing. But that said, watch the movie and I actually had a pretty good time.
You had a pretty good time. Do you still feel the same has it changed how you feel about F1?
No, other than I was like, oh, it actually looks really hard.
Yeah.
Which I think I sort of knew, but it's nice seeing the like, you know, when you see all the montages of them training and they literally just have a band around his head and they're just pulling his head on like on a rope. I'm like, oh yeah, that looks like a lot. And also when you have those shots from like POV shots inside the car, and I'm like, ugh, that looks horrible in there. Really nasty.
So this is the summary of your experiences. You hate F1. You saw the movie. You were like, that looks tough.
Yeah,
and so you had a good time. So what did you enjoy? What did you enjoy about the film?
They did a good job in the movie of explaining tactics and stuff like that. I didn't think there was any tactics going on. I was just like, you have the best car, you win.
Yeah,
is kind of how I thought. But actually, it was interesting seeing all the science. It was the amount of science and teamwork that goes into it, which I didn't know. Which was like choosing the right tires for the right amount of stretch.
Yeah,
and then all that sort of stuff. I was like, oh, okay, this is actually really complicated and difficult and kind of interesting that they're all chatting to each other the whole time. Because I'd be so annoyed if I was in a race and someone was like, you've got to, don't overtake him yet. You just getting there's some nerd just in your area all the time and you're trying to like not die.
I wonder how much of the chatting between everyone is based on reality and how much of it is like we need someone to tell the audience what's happening.
Yeah, I don't know. But I'm glad that guy was there because otherwise I would have hated the movie. At least in the race scenes, I'll be like, I don't know what's going on. I don't care.
They did quite a good job of all the commentators explaining what are presumably very basic F1 concepts for the audience who wouldn't be there. Oh, looks like he's going to have to stop at the pit stop. This will cost him some time because they're going to have to stop and change the tyres on the car, which is going to take a few seconds, and people might be able to overtake him while he's doing that.
That must be so annoying for fans of F1 watching this movie. But for me, as someone who hates F1, I appreciate it. That was helpful.
Okay, well, can you give me some things that you... What did you like and what did you not like about the film?
Okay, well, I should also say I really like Top Gun Maverick.
Okay,
I thought it was really fun. Well, it's acted really well, pretty much across the board. Like Brad Pitt's great, all the leads are great. Brad Pitt, Damson Idris,
Carrie
Condon, all great, really good. Really good. Javier Bardem. Everyone's really good. I sort of feel like this is like actually the kind of movie that Hollywood is good at making. It's like a cheesy, predictable sort of like whatever feel good film. It's easy to watch. You can watch it with your whole family because it's 2.5 hours. I didn't feel like I was sitting there like, fuck this movie. This is so long and boring. It was just really easy to watch, and I quite like that. That's fine. It wasn't like the best thing I've ever seen. But I was engaged the whole way through.
Nice.
Yeah. So nice, easy Hollywood popcorn movie.
Surprisingly
fine to watch. Yeah.
Amazing.
And bearing in mind, I wanted to hate it.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, no, this is just good. This is good.
I wanted to not hate this film.
Oh, okay, interesting.
I was like, I really would like to have a good time. Now, my experience with F1 is I basically think the same things that you think, but also from the perspective of someone who kind of hates all sports and kind of has. I don't think I've ever watched a sports movie which I've particularly enjoyed.
Really?
I can't think of a sports movie now that I'm like have particularly enjoyed watching.
What about that one where she's paralyzed that they made you watch in RS in school?
The Diving Bell and the Butterfly?
No. Fish. Was it Fish Tank? No, not Fish Tank. $1 Million Baby.
Oh no, I'd not seen that.
Oh, okay.
Is that the boxing? That's like boxing, right?
It's boxing.
I didn't know they were paralyzed in that.
Yeah, it's a big moral drama.
I guess Rocky was kind of fine. I don't know what it comes from. I think probably from being really bad at sports at school, at every sport, and the cool kids liking sport, and that turning me off from sport. But it's the one part of human existence that I am sort of entirely unable to get behind at all. Whenever I watch almost any sport, unless I'm in a huge crowd watching the fucking England in the World Cup, and then maybe I can sort of trick myself to care for like 5 minutes. I'm just like, it's just pointless.
And you don't feel like you can transport your love of board games, competitive board games, into sports?
No. I don't expect people to enjoy watching me play board games. I like playing board games because I'm in an exciting match and sort of trying to outwit and outplay other people. But that's not happening in sports. I'm not playing the sports, I'm just watching someone else do it and I don't really care. Also, sports is generally more about ability, sort of skill and physical ability, which again I find like a less interesting thing to watch than someone like outwitting someone. Like if I was watching, The Genius or The Traitors or someone and watch someone do like a clever double bluff or something, that I'd be like, that's clever. But if I watch like a guy who's good at shooting a basketball, I'm like, okay, he's good at that, I guess. He's tried really hard at that.
What about when a team uses a tactic that the other team's not expecting?
Yeah, so I would say like that. So this is jumping ahead slightly, but like I was surprised at some of the tactics and stuff in this that made races that I would have otherwise found like totally boring more interesting. So there's things in this like they like deliberately, and I'm maybe sort of misremembering / misunderstanding all of this because I find it very hard to pay attention to anything to do with sports. But it's like they deliberately go off track to like knock gravel onto the track.
Yeah.
And that like changes the rules of how fast people can go. And then like there's a lot of like, oh, if we do this, and that was like, this is
like playing.
This
dirty.
is a bit like a board game.
Talking my language.
And I like that.
So you would like if someone transformed F1 into a countertop board game with all the same rules, you would be in heaven. Oh my God, he's leaving. Oh my God. Well, for listeners at home, it turned out that Sam had run away to go and get exactly what I described, which is F1 turned into a tabletop board game.
Heat, pedal to the metal.
Wow.
Really good game. Such a good game. You go into little cars and you go, and I always make the sound as I move the car on the board. You got to go, it's really good. And there's like, you can go if you go behind people and you can overtake them.
You get
It's
into
great.
their slipstream.
Yeah.
Okay, so you
anyway,
do like
I got. I like the tactics. Basically, yeah, I'm not a sports movie guy. I'm not an F1 guy. I was not looking forward to this movie.
I always thought the trick. I do have something to say. I always thought the trick to getting into sports though is like you need to just watch loads of it, and then you get to see the like there's like meta layers to everything that's going on, and then you start to enjoy the whole thing.
Yeah, and I guess that probably is true, but I have no desire for that investment. I started watching this movie and I was very bored and didn't care very quickly. And I would say for the first hour and a bit of the movie, I was really struggling to convince myself to watch any more of it at all.
Wow, there's so much of it to go as well.
It's so long. Short. It is. It's a well-made movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is.
They put loads of money into it. You can see it on the screen. It looks great. I went to see it in IMAX because I wanted the whole experience. When you're in the car, it's loud and exciting. It looks cool. Brad Pitt's good. The soundtrack by Hans Zimmer is decent, although not like his best ever. I think if you really like F1, you will probably really like this film. It is not doing what I go to movies to see, right? The characters are two-dimensional, the plot's predictable, or at least the overall plot is predictable, even if individual beats may be, they do a few things that are not entirely too obvious. And I just found myself being like, I just don't care. I don't care if this team wins. I don't care if Brad Pitt comes back and avenges his former self and does really well. At the beginning of the movie, Javier Bardem, who owns the team, is revealed to be $350 million in debt. And I presume we're supposed to be like, oh no, he's normal people are not in that just means he's a rich guy that fucked up. Yeah. I don't care about go bankrupt and just become a normal bloke. One fewer rich guy, good. Right? I'm not, oh no, we have to help this guy who's $350 million in debt like, no, don't go live in a fucking monastery, mate. You fucked it.
Yeah.
And I just didn't care. Despite all of that, the filmmaking is pretty decent. They make the races at least somewhat exciting.
I think the races they did a great job with.
Yeah,
I really do. Like keeping you in the loop of what's going on, because also like keeping track of people in a race.
And they're varied,
a nightmare
and they have different. It's not just like we have to win the race every time. It's like, okay, this time we have to beat this person or we have to get into this position, and they're racing as a duo, so it'll be like one person tries to hold the other cars back with it. Like it is surprising how much they get out of what I assumed is just like car go fast, car win, car the best.
Also enabled the story to be more interesting in the sense like as much as the script was like predictable, I would say there was less predictability because of the nature of racing in F1. Where you were like, when are they going to work together? When are they going to be fighting against each other? And how does that look like? There was actually a sense where I was like, oh, actually, I'm not 100% sure. Yeah. Which is refreshing for that kind of movie. Because normally it's really straightforward.
Not sure, at least in the moment for that little bit. But then it kind of converges back down to that main plot. Yeah. The sort of thing you would expect.
Also, something I'm going to say, I'm just glad it wasn't a fucking franchise movie.
Yeah.
I'm sick of it.
Well,
I'm sick of it.
I was glad of that as well, but then they added the registered trademark to the name and filled the movie with the most product placement I've ever seen in any movie ever. Yeah. Partially because they're all wearing the fucking F1 jerseys.
Oh yeah, this is also something else I hate about F1. It could not be more corporate. Yeah. It's the most corporate sport I've ever seen. It's bleh.
And
it's literally they don't even have team names. It's like Red Bull versus I'm like, okay, well let's just. Now it's obvious they're ruling the world. It's so dystopian. Like it's horrible.
And then even on top of that, it's like it's made for Apple, so everyone's using their AirPods and their iPhones and their Macs and things like that.
Yeah, it's gross.
And then the dialogue's just boring and cheesy. I wrote down a bit of the dialogue. earlier today. One day I realized what I really lost, and it wasn't the titles, the trophies, the records. It was the love for racing. So I just started driving. It didn't matter the car, the circuit. As long as I was behind the wheel, I was good. And
Is that Brad Pitt?
that's Brad Pitt.
Pretty good.
Thank you. I just threw my phone on the floor. And you know, I mean, it's not like Troll 2 dialogue, but it's just like Hollywood.
Yeah, it's Hollywood predictability, comfort food sort of stuff.
It is.
It is also funny when it's like at this point it's like people don't understand the idea of like people who do sports probably enjoy sports.
Yeah.
It's like he's different. He's good. Is the end bit where they're like, "What's he doing?" And they're like, "He's flowing," and he's just driving the race. And you're like, "Yeah, he's been doing this the whole fucking movie."
This is kind of a silly review to do in some ways, really, because I didn't want to watch this movie. I didn't think I'd like it. And I did watch it, and I didn't really like it. Although it's not bad.
Yeah.
It's just really not for me.
It's not up your street.
If you watch the trailer and you go, "That looks cool. I love cars and Brad Pitt and blah blah blah," you'll probably think it's pretty great.
I hate cars. I love Brad Pitt. I think Brad Pitt's the best actor in Hollywood of the dudes.
Do you?
Yeah, I love him. I think he's really good.
I think he's good. I don't know.
Pretty
I'm like excited. I think
His performances are quite varied. Very varied. He's not just himself.
I'm excited that they're doing David Finch is making a sequel to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood using Brad Pitt's character.
Oh, bang it.
Based on the script that Quentin Tarantino wrote.
I also do like Brad Pitt's transformation into like, now he's a grizzled older man. He's good at it. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood being a good example. He's a good down and out guy.
He's good, Brad Pitt. I mean, he's obviously just playing this sort of like the most boring kind of I'm the best in the world and I don't give a shit and I'm gonna do it my way and it's my way or the highway because we're in a car film. And if you and I guess the final thing I'll say is like I was like, oh, F1 does seem like at least somewhat interesting. Like, I'm not gonna get into it myself, but I was like, I just assumed it was people driving around and getting slightly better cars. But yeah, you're right. There's like some tactics and some subtlety, shockingly, to how it's all done. And yeah, it probably is quite cool if you're involved. It's the sort of thing that I imagine being an F1 driver and being involved and being on the team would be amazing. And actually, the thing I probably should have said earlier is like, just watch Senna, the documentary Senna about Ayrton Senna, the F1 driver who died in the 80s, which is an amazing documentary and it's a true story and it follows a human person and you learn a lot about F1 and how this guy became the best driver in the world and how it all went wrong. And that's actually a good film, like a great film in and of itself on the subject. This is an easy way to down a big bucket of popcorn. But it's not really what the movies are for in my book.
Oh, okay.
Sorry if that was
I think that's
F1 pretentious.
Fair.
F1 fair.
I don't know. I was trying to do something. It doesn't really work.
Fair
one. I thought it was fine.
You liked it.
I liked it.
You liked it. I didn't like it, but I wasn't like cross. I was just like,
I preferred Maverick.
Top Gun Maverick.
Preferred that.
I think probably.
But it is the same movie.
yeah. That's F1 the movie. We have. Do we want to say anything spoiler wise, or should we get into 28 years
There's
later?
Nothing to spoil.
There was one thing I was going to say.
There's
all I'll say is there's something very dramatic that happens at some point in the movie, and I was like, "Holy fuck! Is this happening? Is this like going this direction?" And then there's just a big montage after it being like, "And now everything's fine."
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Oh, okay. They just did that so that they could show that thing, but there's not actually any impact." No. And that was when I was like, "Okay, yeah, this is just the sort of Hollywood film that I thought it was." But yeah,
it's fine. You know what you're going in for. If you want
Yes.
to watch that, go do it.
A $300 million advert for F1. Our final movie of today is the long-awaited sequel to 28 Days and 28 Weeks Later. It is 28 years later.
It's ages later.
Post-apocalyptic zombie or people infected with the rage virus movie, directed by Danny Boyle, written by Alex Garland, who also wrote and directed
the first one, but not the second
one. 28 Weeks Later. It's set on a small island in the north of England, which has a, what do they call it? A
causeway?
A causeway, which is basically a bit of land which you can use to walk from the island to the mainland only during low tide. When high tide is there, there's no access to the mainland. 28 years later, there's a small community of people hiding from the zombos.
Who have, importantly, taken over the mainland.
Who've taken over
and the UK. But nowhere else in the world. The rest of the world is infection-free.
Fought off the zombos.
Which is a retcon from 28 Weeks Later, where it suggested that Europe gets fucked.
Well, yeah, I think 28 Weeks Later, they show them like arriving in Paris. And then at the beginning of 28 Years Later, they're like, they fought them off and it's fine now. The movie stars Aaron Taylor-Johnson and Jodie Comer as a couple living on the island. Aaron Taylor-Johnson is a hunky dude who's good at fighting zombos.
He's also barely in it.
Yeah, he's in it a bit.
He's in it a bit. He's not as much as the fucking advert says he's in it.
Were you cross? Are you a big,
no, I wasn't cross. I was just
ATJ fan?
No, I wasn't. I was just like, well, that's misleading.
Yeah, but I think it's probably good to not know exactly what's going to happen. Jodie Comer plays a lady who is ill. That's her role. She's the wife of Aaron Taylor-Johnson, and she's sick. And they have a little boy. And
Alfie, played by Alfie Williams.
Played by Alfie Williams, of course. Well, who could forget? The movie starts with Aaron Taylor-Johnson taking his 12-year-old son or 11-year-old son.
Actually, it starts with Teletubbies.
Well, it starts with a flashback. But yeah, the main part of the movie is Aaron Taylor-Johnson taking his son on a trip to the mainland to go zombie hunting as a sort of rite of passage, sort of coming of age thing. Luke, this has had quite polarizing reviews. I think it's quite an interesting movie. It's quite surprising tonally in many ways.
Yes.
Did you enjoy the early 28 Days and Weeks films?
Yes.
And what did you think of 28
I
later?
love 28 Days Later. I think it's great. Probably one of the best zombie movies ever made. I don't even think that's like controversial. I think lots of people have that opinion. Of like modern zombie movies, I'm like by far the best. It's very grounded. It's very emotional. It's very good.
Very gritty, and they sort of pioneered
running
fast zombies,
which
are scary.
They're scary. It's way scarier, but it's also like it's a proper drama. Like it feels like a drama. It doesn't feel like a, like silly horror. It feels very real and like it's scary and whatever because you're following normal people and you're like all of their actions feel pretty like this could happen. This is how it would go down. Whatever.
Yeah.
28 Weeks Later, I also think is pretty good. Everyone shits on it, but I actually think it's all right. It's there's some really good scenes in it that I think are really sort of stand up to the quality of the first one, but as an entirety is not as good.
Sure.
But I think people shit on it kind of unfairly because it's being compared to the best zombie movie made. And then this one, I kind of, it was like really unexpected. It was so different to what I thought it would be.
What did you think it would be?
I thought it would be a more linear story. I feel like there's loads of shit that get brought up and kind of not really seen through to the end. But then I learned it's part of a franchise, which I didn't know was happening.
So they're making
rebooting
28 years later films, and this is the first of the trilogy. So it's not going to be 28 decades or whatever. They're making 3 movies that are all
28
presumably
years
set
later.
in a row. 28 years after the first
I kind of found like I loved bits of this movie, and then other bits I found really frustrating. And I think knowing that it's the first one in a planned trilogy kind of makes sense because there's all these themes that come up that then they don't really explore, and they're like all really interesting. So it's like the whole beginning bit, you're like the start of the movie is like, oh my god, we're looking at like a civilization that's now gone backwards and it's gone back to sort of medieval religious sort of times, and it's all a bit like, oh, is this going to be an exploration of society going back to a sort of more religious, bare-boned kind of thing, and the power of community, the danger of community, but then it doesn't go anywhere with that. It then becomes a different movie, and it does that 3 or 4 times. And I'm like, I can't keep... I'll talk about it in spoilers specifically, but I was like, I was annoyed because I was like, oh, amazing, nowhere, amazing, nowhere, amazing, kind of somewhere, and then it ends, and you're like, what?
Right, okay.
And but like really good ideas the whole way through, but it just felt like they threw everything at it, and I was like, I'd rather we just went with one of these directions so that it felt like... It didn't feel like one movie. It felt like, I don't know, lots of shit going on, or like speed watching a TV series. But looked beautiful, like acting was great.
Did you come out overall? It sounds like you had a good time, but were frustrated. What was your primary feeling leaving the cinema? Were you mostly frustrated or mostly?
Well, the final scene, the final scene is like such a tone shift from what happens before. That I was like, like, why have you made this decision? And I didn't think it was like Danny Boyle's movies are generally like really great and have this really creative flair. But I felt for this, I was like, this actually feels like a tonal mismatch. This doesn't feel like a good creative decision. It just feels like jarring.
Yeah.
Even though I'm like, I'm not opposed to the direction it was going, but I'm like, it should have been a whole movie in itself rather than just tacked on at the end.
Okay. I mean, I would say the final scene is very peculiar, but the final scene is very clearly just it's the first scene of the next movie.
Yeah.
The movie ends and then they have one scene of the next movie, and that's
the
final scene. And it's weird and it's a tonal shift. But ignoring that, overall, did you have a good time, or did those things, all those frustrations, get in the way of?
I had an all right time. I had an all right time. It was there were some bits that were so well executed, and then other bits where I was like, because I kind of lost interest because I was like, I don't think this is going somewhere.
Yeah.
Whereas like 28 Days Later, I was hooked the whole way through. But it's very simple. 28 Days Later. This is like trying to say loads of shit.
Yeah.
And introduce new like zombie lore and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Great.
That's my opinion.
I give you your opinion, Luke. Can I give you my opinion?
No.
I'm going to anyway. I'm a big fan of 28 Days Later. I've not seen 28 Weeks Later for a long time. I remember actually really enjoying it, but I've since heard lots of people putting it down, so I don't know. I don't necessarily trust my 17-year-old me opinion or whenever it was when I watched it. I was very much looking forward to 28 Years Later. And it started, and I was immediately hooked, immediately having a good time. It's the same Danny Boyle weird flair. It's using most of the film's shot with iPhones, I believe. It's all like handheld shaky cam. It's very gritty and grimy. It doesn't look quite as bad as the early movies, which looked like they were filmed on the potato.
One's so grainy. It's crazy.
Yeah, hard to watch. It does look better, but very like fast, frenetic filmmaking.
The action
weird
scenes, I would say, are like really intense.
Yeah.
In a way that, even though it's that a lot of movies don't manage.
I was sitting next to Laura. We were in the cinema. We were gripping each other's hands tightly. It was, it just exciting, stressful, straight away. And I think the movie had a bunch of scenes like that, and most of them were really great. A lot of the 28 franchise is like, in some ways, a sort of series of action zombie set pieces, and this movie is no different, and a lot of these set pieces are really, really great in this film.
The opening scene is great.
I would agree with some of what you were saying about certain things not necessarily going anywhere, although I don't know what specifically you're referring to apart from this kind of Brexit Britain stuff that they had on the island. So yeah, I do agree that there's this sort of interesting thing on the island where the men are doing men's jobs and the women are raising children, and they all like sort of worship the Queen, and it's all sort of gone a bit backwards and a bit Brexity. And I feel like there was the beginnings of something interesting being said there, but they just didn't explore it very much. It was just kind of like, oh yeah, what if we all became... And I don't know, maybe the whole thing's like a metaphor for immigrants and something like that, or people's opinions of them, or. But it was a bit lost for me. I was just kind of vaguely aware of it, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
So maybe that'll come out more in the franchise. I'm not sure. For me, there are two problems that horror movies often suffer from that turn a great horror movie into a disappointing one.
That's interesting. You consider this a horror movie?
There's a horror-y zombies.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, it's not like a horror movie. Like, it's like an action horror thriller, right?
Survival drama. Yeah, sort of. Yeah, fair.
Yeah. I mean, it's like pretty horrible. It's scary.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's a definitional thing, right? It's not like Hereditary or kind of psychological horrors like that. It's an action horror, right? But anyway, in horror movies and sort of thrillers like this, there are two big problems I often find with them. One we've talked about on the podcast a bunch of times before, which is when the rules of the world don't make sense and are annoying, and they introduce new rules in the middle of it. No problem with that at all in this movie. They've expanded the zombie lore, as Luke was saying. There are now some slow zombies that have like kind of rotted, and they're like eating worms on the floor, rolling around. They're like disgusting but also really scary because they're kind of quiet and come out of nowhere. And then there are these alpha zombies, which are these super strong, smart zombies. With big cocks.
Yeah, fucking wedge.
Wow,
the iPhone didn't have any trouble capturing that.
And that's maybe a bit silly, a bit video gamey, but also quite cool, quite interesting. They're starting to humanize the zombies a little bit more.
I love
in certain ways.
I think that was really interesting.
I thought that was really cool. It didn't feel like they were just throwing in new rules for the sake of it. It's just kind of expanding the world. I really like that. Other problem that horror movies often have, which for me this movie did have, is the decisions made by the characters. There are a lot of decisions made by the characters in this film that I was just like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you doing that? This makes no sense to me. This is such a stupid thing to do. And whether it's just like the characters are supposed to be really stupid or it's just poor script writing or the motivation wasn't there or whatever, this just kept happening and it kept taking me out of the movie to the point where by the end of it, I was like, it gets kind of surprisingly sort of emotional later in the movie, but I'd kind of disconnected from a lot of the characters by that point because I was just like, without giving anything away, it's like characters. A lot of the problems are just like characters putting themselves in dangerous situations that they didn't need to do, and I'm just like.
But you also think it's particularly in a thing where it's like this whole society has now developed where people have grown up being like, you've got to be extra safe, you've got to be smart.
Yeah,
it feels even more discordant when you're like, this is a whole kid raised in this environment. It should be like a military level sort of level of procedure and
exactly. And that's why it's a kid is the main character of the movie, right? Is because a lot of these decisions are made, at least in part, by this kid. And it's like, well, he's a stupid kid. But the way I heard it described, which I think basically explains it, is the narrative plot of the movie in many ways feels kind of like a fairy tale. You're watching this kid go on this sort of crazy adventure, getting out of trouble and whatever, and it's like very quickly like totally unrealistic.
That's a really good way. Me. Yeah, it's like when you see the night sky, it already looks like it looks fake and bizarre but beautiful.
Right.
Yeah.
And something like that could be really cool. I really like often these kind of this childish ideas and imagery contrasted with really like horrific horror imagery and stuff. But it just felt to me like, this is a stupid fucking kid. This is stupid. She's obviously just going to die here. Why would you do this? You could just do this. And I just got to the point where I was like, well, I just don't care. You're going to die now. you should die. If you do die, I don't care. And if you don't die, I'm like, well, that's stupid because you would have died. And
That's also something I'd say the first movie is really, really not guilty of in any manner.
yeah, exactly.
It's so like real
Which is
feeling.
What's sort of surprising about this. Yeah, I would basically say I had a really good time for most of this movie. I thought it was really fun and exciting and well made, and I think it had the potential to be, as good or even better than the early movies, and one of the best horror films in years. But there were just so many moments like that I've been talking about that totally took me out of it, so that by the end I was felt a bit let down by it. I still had a good time. I would still recommend it if you like the early movies. Go and support it in the cinema if you can do.
Well, it's also going to be interesting where it goes from.
And
here,
I'm also excited to see.
I want to see.
next
I do
movies.
want to see the next one, and also that could maybe fix some of the. I don't know. It could recontextualize some of it. I don't know.
Maybe for you, I feel like for me, this
characters.
There's some of this. There is a self-contained story in this. There are some characters that I think are going to carry on to the next movie, but the self-contained story in this, I was just like, and it was a shame especially because when you get to this surprising emotional beat later on in the movie, I was like, oh, I think if you had tweaked a few things, I could maybe be finding this like really powerful and tearing up and it could be really strong. But yeah, I wasn't there. And I think it basically is the script. I think it's Alex Garland's script. I don't think I have any problems with the way it was directed. I think it looks great. I think it's really exciting. I just think what the world they are asking us to buy into and the decisions they ask us to believe, although they put motivation in there for them, it's not enough to make sense to me.
Yeah, I think also to give credit to the direction as well. It's like, because when I first started watching it, I was like, ooh, is this going to feel exactly the same as The Last of Us?
Right.
Which obviously came out afterwards, but really pinned down a strong like central narrative between like a older guardian and like a younger person growing up in this new world. And to actually avoid that completely and feel unique with something that big also in the works at the moment is like pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And also not differentiating itself just for the sake of differentiating itself. It was just like, okay, these are two very separate universes, despite it being like one's mushroom zombies and one's angry zombies.
Yeah. To my shame, I've neither played nor watched The Last of Us, so I cannot comment. But from what I do know about The Last of Us, it seems like there's lots of parallels. But it's definitely kept its 28 days identity and added some new stuff on which feel like not at all like The Last of Us, apart from maybe some of the new kind of zombie lore, like the zombies and things like that. Basically though, I had a good time. It's worth seeing on the big screen, but I just can't help being frustrated by some of the decisions made along the way. 28 years later or F1, what would you...
28 years later is a better movie.
Okay.
Well, more interesting movie.
It's kind of weird. Which did you have a better time watching?
28 years later.
Okay, yeah. But, I was worried you were going to say it. Well, not worried. I thought you might say it.
No,
I totally agree.
I find it really difficult because it's like, in terms of achieving what they set out to achieve, F1 is way... like, I don't want to say better, but it's like more effectively doing what it's supposed to be doing.
They spent $300 million making exactly the movie they wanted to make.
Yeah, whereas 28 years later feels flawed, but is not like... I'm like, it's worth watching. It's not like it's bad time.
I would agree with that. I would say yeah.
But it's also more to my
taste. Flawless, arguably. But that's not the compliment that you think it is.
It's like doing the gymnastics thing, doing like the difficulty level of what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And it's like F1's pretty low.
F1's like having...
He did a cartwheel. He did a cartwheel.
It's like having a perfectly heated Heinz tomato soup. You're like, yep, that's exactly the correct temperature.
Versus trying to do a Heston Blumenthal.
Yeah, 28 years later is going to like an 8-course supper club, and it's like, well, this did not all work, but one evening.
Should we do spoilers?
Yeah, I think let's. Any final comments about 28 years?
No, I think we summed up.
I think we summed up
Feelings.
Yeah. Okay. 28 years later. Spoilers. Can I just quickly run through my things that I'm like, that's stupid. That's stupid. That's stupid. Why they do that? So, taking a 12-year-old boy out to kill zombies with a handful of arrows, when he's like really shit and there's no one else to protect them, and they don't even have anything to fetch or do. Yeah, they're just there like, oh, this is what we do. We go out and we kill zombies when we're coming of age, and he's not even come of age yet. I'm just like, this is just the stupidest thing to do in the world. Why would you do this? Like, I get that they're trying to be like, oh, he's a big macho man. But it's just dumb. This is just also, give them something to do. Be like, oh yeah, we need to go and fetch a fucking pineapple from the mainland. Well,
this is why I was saying, like for me, it's like thematically, it's really annoying because it's like that would make sense to me if the whole thing was about his dad being a hot-headed alpha male, kind of out of control, irresponsible father. Yeah. Versus, and then like it's all about finding masculinity in this new world. And you've got the alpha zombies coming in, and you got all these opportunities to be like, oh, it's an exploration of masculinity. Yeah. But like if you just leave it, it just seems dumb. Yeah. Which is because that's where I thought they were initially going, was like, oh, it's so good. And that was the whole point of the mum being sick, is like, is he just neglecting her? And then the kind of young boy who's more sort of, you know, caring or whatever is like, why are you cheating on mum? Why are you not looking after mum? Like, there's all these sort of points where I'm like, oh, they're setting it up for something, an exploration of that. And then in the backdrop is the society that's gone all like feudal and old timey. But it drops that after like 20 minutes.
Yeah, I think a lot of these issues would have been solved if Aaron Taylor Johnson was like more obviously a bad guy. Yeah. Like, he's actually, his wife's dying and he's cheating on his wife and he's a bit hard on his son. Yeah. But he's also like
very supportive.
A pretty supportive, tough dad in the literally the worst situation you could possibly imagine. Yeah, it's true. Right? Like, so, but if he was like this sort of mad macho arsehole who's like, I'm going to take my son out and, but he's not. He's quite sort of careful and protective. So I was like, well, I don't believe that. And then when and then you see him cheating on the mum later, and then the boy's like, okay, I'm gonna go out and take my mum on this journey where I'm obviously going to die because I went with a really strong survivalist before and struggled. Almost died. And now I'm going out both killed. And now I'm going out with like a mental woman who can't walk and doesn't know where she is. You're so obviously going to die to go and see this doctor that you've been told might just be mad anyway. Yeah. It's such a stupid decision.
Also on the this is slightly a different thing, but also the way they said the doctor was crazy was just not justifiable enough to me when they were like, he laid out all the bodies. What a freak. I'm like, he's a medical expert.
He's obviously burying or burning the bodies.
Yeah, and then he's like, and he waved at us, and it's
like a weirdo.
I'm like, what's he done that's so bizarre? It's not like he's cutting out babies from like living like mothers and trying to find a cure and like going all like fucking Dr. Zhivago. He's literally doing actually what is probably recommended to do, is collect and burn all the fucking infected bodies.
Exactly. So obvious that he's gonna be like a good guy, because I totally agree with that.
Doesn't do anything creepy at all. Apart from, and when you meet him, he's a bit eccentric and weird. Because also there is also the Tower of Skulls. You could say they saw that and freaked out.
Yeah, maybe. But I guess they wanted that to be a surprise later. And that for me is one of the biggest disappointments, because I was actually finding the bone monuments like surprisingly like beautiful and moving. Like the idea is they've collected the bones of all these people who have died, and he's built these towers out of the bones, which like at first glance are like horrific and terrifying. But he says memento mori and talks about the sort of philosophy of death and remembering people, how he can remember them, and using these monuments to remember people in a sort of more beautiful way than like a mass grave or something.
Yeah.
And it is really beautiful and amazing.
And also
but
that
by
whole
that
thing
point
that
of the
he's
film,
like, it's going to disintegrate as well.
yeah,
He's got the whole thing, like the structure is going to come down, which reflects the whole thing of death in itself.
yeah,
The moment stuff could have been cool. But again, I was like, it's a whole, it only comes in like the final quarter of the movie that they really sort of tackle death in this direct, sort of interesting way when it could have been bubbling along the whole time.
yeah.
When they're investigating the
Kind of comes along when
illness.
Ralph Fiennes appears.
Yeah, and it's just like, okay, this is again a really great and interesting thing to talk about. But and like kind of also even the cultural context now where everyone's like really scared of war and stuff is like, all right, this is a really actually interesting time to talk about something like cultural collapse and death and all this sort of stuff. But it sort of feels shallow.
Yeah.
Within the context of the movie itself, because it's not really set up, and it's kind of like that. And this is where the movie was so frustrating for me. Is like I'm supposed to have this like I've kind of wanted someone to make this point in a movie for a while, and it's just like to see it sort of not quite hitting where I think it should be. And like also people were laughing in the cinema because Ralph Fiennes is dressed up in this like iodine suit, and for some reason he shoots her with the blow dart when he could just inject it into It's like really weird that he's like, yes, you must just, I will only kill you on one condition. I get to use my blow dart.
Also really, really stupid is them capturing the alpha zombie and then them just letting it live.
Yeah.
Now there's sort of maybe a very vague explanation of like, oh, Ray Fiennes doesn't want to kill people because he thinks they're all people or whatever. The boy should at least put up a fight, and then he's almost killed by the alpha zombie like 2 minutes later. So it's obviously really stupid. Just fucking kill the alpha zombie. Also, them shooting all the zombies with arrows, never going to collect any of their arrows. I guess the blood could come out, but like, go and get your fucking arrows. You got no arrows, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Stupid. The boy going home and then deciding he's gonna stay out in the wilderness by himself. Obviously, you're just gonna die in like one day. How are you even gonna eat and survive? You're an idiot. Stupid. And just the whole movie was just filled with all of these fucking things that I was like, you wouldn't do that. That wouldn't happen.
Also, all the military guys who get in a whack. Scandinavians. Like, there is something that I always find it a real pet peeve in movies when they make, you know, when you have like a main character who is so much less trained and so much less equipped, but surviving way better for no reason.
Yeah.
Than like a fully stocked SWAT team whose job it is to contain the virus. I'm like, obviously they'll be more effective, even if they're like just fallen off their ship. They would at least be like not panicking the second they get attacked and running in separate directions. It's like,
and also they've like all got machine guns. I'm like, you can kill 15 zombies.
Yeah. There's no end. Like, I understand the alpha comes in and murks them all, and that could have happened in exactly the same way. But it's like the way, they're all getting taken out by like some naked fucking teenager, and you're like, no, they wouldn't.
Yeah.
They're all literally in this narrow passage where they can see them.
And I just feel like all of these things, all of these problems we're talking about are not things that needed. They're not like unsolvable problems where it's like, oh, we couldn't have made the movie without these things. Like, these are all, you just like change some of the characters a bit, like change their skill sets a bit, change their motivations a bit, change the situations they're in a bit, and you fix all the problems. And they're problems that should be clear from reading the script before you make the movie.
But also, if you've watched like Alex Garland make something as careful as like warfare,
right?
You're like, you know all this shit.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a like, you sort of feel like, oh, did you just not think this through as much? I don't know what happened. Do you know what I mean? Which is like a crazy thing to think about. You know, the two of them have made such great stuff in the past. It's like a bit frustrating.
Yeah, it is weird, and you know, something like Ex Machina where it's so carefully plotted, and this just feels, I don't know how to describe it. Not rushed, but like just it's like 28 Days Later has always had this really grounded, real feeling because of this like handheld cameras and the kind of low budget griminess. It's just always felt very real, and that's what's made it really scary. And this just had kind of like just stupid Hollywood movie decisions being made by the characters.
Well, I was going to say this is why it sort of feels to me like the franchise problem, which is like, you see, I mean, Star Wars is probably the most egregious
right
violator of this way. They sort of, I don't know, it feels like everything gets lost to spectacle and size.
Right.
And you're like, you've just lost the story, which is really the most key thing, which is also why I think like low budget movies tend to excel in it, is because they're like, well, we can't do huge set pieces, so it has to be just absolutely laser focused on the smaller bits and the acting and stuff. And you're like, well, that is where the magic is. And if you happen to elevate that with set pieces, then great. But if you lose that core bit, then it just feels less good.
I'm hoping that it's all well. I am hoping that this stuff is improved for the sequels. However, I am not especially confident based on the final scene of this movie, in which a team of apparently Jimmy Savile
ninjas come
and like power range the zombies to death, like fucking fly kicking them, and with it's just so bizarre.
But it was suddenly like, we're in Shaun of the Dead.
We're in Shaun of the we're in a fucking
entered into a different universe.
It Man martial arts movie. Like it just,
which I did
so weird. And the Jimmy Savile thing is, they're all called Jimmy, or the main guy's called Jimmy, and they dress like Jimmy Savile. And I don't know, I guess it's just a sort of dark joke because they wouldn't have known Jimmy Savile. They would have grown up with Jimmy Savile, and they would have not known he was a paedophile because the apocalypse came before he was outed. But like, and I guess they're sort of bad guys, and maybe that's to show that somehow, but just feels weird.
This is sort of like the Warriors movie. Like, I feel like a gang from that. And you're like, okay. But again, it's also this annoying thing where it's like, I can kind of see maybe if you like, because it's also mad because it's like, that's the kid from the opening scene, the leader of the Jimmy gang.
Okay, we lost camera, but we're carrying on.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, so he spent the whole movie to get to what the prologue and the epilogue is, this kid who's sort of, I guess, going to have significant impact in the rest of the series. But it's also like, well, then you also had this perfect setup to explore masculinity and father figures, because you have one who has a mental, religious, maniac father, and then creates this sort of cult guy who lords Jimmy Savile, and then you have our main character who's perhaps raised in a different way, and then you can compare them to. But that's a different movie.
Well, that might be what the next movie is.
Well, it could be, yeah, but it's like, to introduce all those elements in one movie feels messy and like confusing.
I don't really mind. I think I'd push back against that, because I'm like, that's clearly just setting stuff up for the next movie. I don't really care that that's not resolved. I care more that the themes and the stuff, the main plot that they did try and resolve in this film felt kind of incomplete and unbelievable and stuff. I'm willing to just wait for the next one.
But that makes those things worse, because to me it makes that kind of thing more annoying, because it's, well, none of it's been fucking fixed, and now there's another, like, to end on a like to be continued is just even more irritating when you've just gone through a bunch of plots that haven't resolved.
I think for sure, right? Like, if the main plot had been really perfect and brilliant, and then it had like a wacky final scene, people would just go, "Oh, that scene was wacky. I'm excited to see what they do in the next movie." Overall, this movie was really great. It's the fact that the whole movie beforehand, it was like, this is good, but I have issues with it. This is good, but I have issues with it. And then to sort of, when we were already feeling a bit like, ooh, to then go, and now here's something
It's the
totally
most
mad.
wacky. Yeah.
It's like, well, unfortunately, you haven't really earned enough goodwill to spring that on me. But I'm still excited to see where it goes.
Yeah. Me too.
Um,
What do you think of the pregnant zombie?
I like the pregnant zombie.
Me too.
I thought that was good. Although, again, another really stupid scene because you just kill the zombie.
Yeah.
There's a zombie right in front of you, in front of your ill mum. Like, it's obviously can just kill you, whether it's going to have a baby or not. Kill it and pull the baby out. Like, fucking. You would assume the baby's going to come out as a zombie anyway. Like, I get that the mum is mad. So fine, maybe she's doing that because she's mad. But kid, come in and kill the zombie immediately. And when the soldier guy comes in and is like, step away, we need to kill her, she's a zombie. And they're like, no. It's like, soldier guy's totally right. He's a fucking zombie, kill it. And that was just another thing that was just felt too kind of fairy tale and like, well, I don't fucking believe any of this.
Yeah.
But I thought the visuals and the visceral nature of watching a fucking zombie give birth was terrifying and horrifying and cool.
Something really perverse about the whole thing.
And the zombie baby coming out not as a zombie is
great twist.
Kind of interesting and cool, like kind of semi-unbelievable, but also sort of.
Well, no, Sam, the power of the placenta.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't mean anything. The placenta is just a fucking thing that feeds you. You're still covered in fucking zombie blood. Why is the placenta it makes you immune to zombie blood? Does it?
It might give you antibodies. Yeah.
Well, why are we not all munching on placenta then and getting this all over with?
Yeah, you're right. Make a good point.
And yeah, Rafe Fiennes' introduction was a bit felt a little bit too little, too late as well. But he was fun. He's good, isn't he? Rafe.
Good old Rafe Fiennes.
Right. There's a YouTube channel which is like how to pronounce things, but it's all wrong on purpose, and people get really annoyed. They're like, it's not how you pronounce it, because they all do it. They do it wrong on purpose. And there's one I always remember from when I was a kid, and it was the Rafe Fiennes, and it was Ralpaha Fiennes. Ralpaha Fiennes. Ralpaha Fiennes.
That's good. That's
good
fun.
stuff.
I'll do that all day.
Ralpaha Fiennes. That's it for this week.
Yes, it is.
We'll be back soon before Luke fucks off on another cruise to Kyrgyzstan.
I gotta make money.
He's gotta make
I gotta
money.
pay off debt. Actually,
He's
I
got to
don't even have money.
pay back.
Edinburgh.
The
slave labor that is Edinburgh.
The slave
apparently.
labor that is Edinburgh, which is more true than you might believe in Luke's situation. And, that's all from us.
Bye.
Bye.